Kalen Ward stepped off the shuttle ramp and into the wide, glowing corridor of Idolon Spire, the most famous neutral space station in the region. The air felt cooler than Earth's climate, and faint blue lights ran along the walls like tiny rivers. Kalen took a slow breath. He had spent years dreaming of working somewhere beyond Earth's orbit, and today he was finally here, an official engineering representative for the Human-Alien Cultural Exchange Program. He tried not to smile like a child. He failed. Kalen followed the guidance arrows projected on the floor until he reached a tall reception drone. It hovered in front of him, a smooth metal sphere with a single circular eye in the center. Name: Kalen Ward. Species: human. Purpose: residency. The drone said in a calm tone. Your living module is C-23. You will share it with a representative from the Vela Collective. Kalen blinked. A Vela? Seriously? Yes, the drone answered. She has already arrived. Kalen had never met a Vela before. Hardly anyone had. They kept to themselves, avoided crowded ports, and wore strange, shifting shrouds around their bodies. Every rumor said they were peaceful but extremely private. Some people even believed they were made of pure energy instead of normal flesh. Kalen knew that was probably an exaggeration, but still he felt a mix of curiosity and nervousness. Great, he muttered to himself. Don't mess this up, Kalen. Don't make a fool of yourself on day one. He walked the curved corridor toward Module C-23. The doors along the hallway hummed with soft light. When he reached his unit, he placed his hand on the panel. The door recognized him and slid open. Inside was a tidy, small living space, 2 sleeping rooms, a shared common area, and 1 washroom. Everything looked clean and simple, with silver walls and soft lighting. On the far side of the room stood a tall figure wrapped in a flowing, dark blue shroud that shimmered like water. The cloth covered her entire form, hiding everything except a faint glow where her head should be. She turned toward him. Kalen froze. The Vela looked delicate but also mysterious, like she was made of soft light trapped behind fabric. Greetings, she said softly. Her voice was smooth and musical, almost like she was speaking in 2 tones at once. I am Avaris, representative of the Vela Collective. Kalen straightened his posture. Hello, I'm Kalen Ward. Avaris gave the smallest nod. We will be sharing this living module. I hope the arrangement is acceptable. Oh yeah, of course. Perfectly acceptable. Kalen realized he sounded too eager and quickly toned down. I'm honored. Avaris didn't respond to his awkwardness. She simply turned and returned to organizing a few floating crystalline items on a shelf. They shifted in the air like tiny stars. Kalen set down his bag. The silence stretched for a moment. He had imagined meeting aliens would be exciting, but Avaris felt quiet and distant, like she was always focused on something else. He cleared his throat. If there's anything you need space, time, privacy, I can adjust. Avaris paused. Her shroud flickered faintly. Privacy is important to my people, but I am informed that humans share spaces comfortably. I will do my best to adapt. Kalen nodded, not wanting to push too hard. If anything bothers you, just tell me. I'm easy to work with. Another faint glow came from beneath her shroud, almost like a brief pulse of light. Understood. With introductions done, Avaris drifted toward the washroom, the shroud flowing around her like a silent wave. The door slid closed behind her. Kalen let out a long breath. Well, he whispered to himself. He unpacked his things, placed tools in a small drawer, and ran diagnostics on the small panel near his sleeping room. Everything seemed normal, except one thing. The washroom door sensor flickered red. Huh, he muttered. Looks like the sensor's unstable. As an engineer, he couldn't ignore a technical problem, especially not in his own living space. He tapped at the panel, trying to reset its connection. Nothing changed. He gave the door a gentle push. It slid open halfway, and then stopped. Before Kalen could think, he heard a soft, echoing sound from inside. Water flowed. Something delicate glimmered. He froze. The door had opened on its own. Inside the washroom, Avarice stood without her shroud. Kalen's mind felt like it hit a wall. She was nothing like a human. Nothing like any alien he had ever studied. Avarice's true body was made of living lattice, a network of soft, glowing hexagonal plates that floated near one another but never fully touched. They shifted like pieces of a warm, golden puzzle. Light pulsed through each panel, rising and falling like a heartbeat. She wasn't solid. She wasn't liquid. She was something in between, like a shape woven from starlight. For one long second, neither of them moved. Avarice slowly turned. Her eyes, if they could be called eyes, were two bright, steady points of light. Kalen stepped back quickly, hands raised. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. The door. The sensor broke. I swear, I wasn't. Avarice reacted not with anger, but with something else entirely. Fear. Her panels pulled closer together, trembling. The soft golden light dimmed. She looked like a person trying to hide a wound. Kalen had no idea what to do. He kept stepping backward until he was out of the doorway. The moment he crossed the threshold, the washroom door shut tightly behind him. He stumbled back into the common area and sat on the nearest chair, heart racing. He hadn't seen anything wrong or embarrassing, just a body unlike anything he had ever imagined. But Avarice's reaction, that terrified expression, it stuck in his mind like a cold weight. Minutes passed. Finally, the washroom door opened again. Avarice emerged wearing her shroud once more, the fabric returning to its calm, flowing state. But the glow beneath it was dimmer. She moved slowly, like someone afraid the ground might break beneath her feet. Human, she said quietly. Kalen Ward. He stood quickly. Avarice, I'm really sorry. I swear the door. She lifted a hand. The shroud around her sleeve flickered. I know you did not intend harm. Her voice trembled slightly. My people do not reveal our natural forms, she continued. It is forbidden. It is dangerous. Some species, they do not treat us kindly when they learn what we are. Kalen frowned. Because you're light-based? Because our bodies can be misused. Harvested. She paused, as if the word tasted bitter. Our lattice can be broken apart and turned into high-energy crystals. Many fear us. Some seek to control us. Kalen felt a sharp twist in his stomach. That's horrible. It is the truth of our history, she said softly. And now you have seen what I am. He shook his head quickly. I won't say anything. I promise. I don't want anyone to hurt you. Avarice didn't move for a moment. Then, slowly, she bowed her head. Humans are unpredictable, she whispered. Kalen tried to smile, even though his chest felt tight. Well, you can trust me. 100%. The glow beneath her shroud pulsed faintly like a quiet breath of relief. Avarice drifted to the far side of the room and sat down, though she didn't exactly sit in a human way. She floated slightly, her shroud folding around her like a cloud. We will speak more soon, she said softly. For now, thank you. For your honesty. Kalen nodded. Anytime. He sat back down, but his thoughts wouldn't settle. He kept remembering the moment he saw her real form, not with fear, but awe. She wasn't strange or frightening. She was beautiful in a way that didn't have anything to do with appearance. She was unique, fragile, alive in a way humans could barely understand. And he had scared her. That bothered him more than anything. As the lights dimmed for the station's night cycle, Kalen made a silent promise. He would protect her secret. He would make sure she felt safe. Whatever happened next, He was not going to let her face it alone. The next morning, on Idolon Spire came with soft humming lights and a calm vibration through the floor signals that the station had entered its daylight cycle. Kalen rose early, still thinking about what happened the night before. The memory of Avarice's frightened expression kept echoing in his mind. He wanted to talk to her, but he didn't want to rush her either. He prepared a simple breakfast, mostly nutrient bars and a hot drink that tasted almost like coffee but sharper. While he ate, he noticed that Avery's door was open just a crack. She usually kept it closed completely. When she stepped into the common area, she was wrapped in her dark blue shroud again. But something was different this time. The glow under the fabric was calm, not tense like last night. "Kalen Ward," she said, in her usual soft voice. "Morning," he answered gently. She tilted her head slightly. Sleep is not exactly part of Vela biology. But I rested. "Oh," he said awkwardly. Avaris moved toward the table. Her motions were slow today, careful, like she was trying to choose every step. She stood quietly for a moment, watching him with those faint glowing points beneath her shroud. "I wish to speak about last night," she said. Kalen straightened immediately. "I'm really sorry, Avaris. I swear I didn't." "This is not about apologies," she interrupted softly. "You have already proven your sincerity." He blinked. "Then, what is it about?" She lowered her head a little. The shroud shimmered gently. "It is about trust. And danger." Callan set down his drink. "I'm listening." Avaris folded her hands in front of her, though they were hidden beneath the fabric. He could sense the movement. "My people usually hide our real bodies for protection. Not simply from curiosity, but because our form can attract those who wish us harm." "You mentioned being hunted," Kalen said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "Across many star systems, there exist groups who seek to capture Vela. They break our lattice to create energy crystals, objects of great power, but also great suffering." Callan felt his stomach twist. "That's awful." "It is why we do not travel openly," she said. "Why only a few Vela are selected for diplomatic missions. Why we live in secrecy." He nodded slowly. "So, me seeing your true form? It puts you at risk?" "It puts my mission at risk," she corrected. "But the fact that you did not react with fear or greed, that gives me hope." Kalen relaxed a little. "I'm glad." Avaris hesitated, then continued. "There is something else. Something I must tell you, because circumstances have changed." Callan leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Avaris turned slightly, as if listening to some distant memory. "Last night, before you entered the washroom, I was receiving a private signal. A distress call." She paused, letting the words sink in. "From another Vela." Kalen's eyes widened. "There's another one on the station?" "Yes. But not officially," she whispered. "This individual is hiding, injured, and hunted." Kalen's heart pounded. "And you're supposed to find them?" "I was not supposed to be involved," she said. "But now, I must be. Because the signal was weak, desperate. They are afraid." Kalen stood. "Then we should go help them." Avaris looked at him, the glow beneath her shroud brightening for a moment. "You say that quickly, without hesitation." "Someone's in trouble," Callan replied simply. "I'm an engineer, not a soldier. But I'm not going to ignore that." Avaris gave a quiet sound almost like a soft note of surprise. "Humans continue to confuse me." Kalen laughed lightly. "We do that." A few hours later, they walked through one of the maintenance sectors of Idolon Spire. The area was quieter than the public corridors, filled with pipes, humming generators, and floating service drones. Kalen carried a small handheld scanner, while Avaris stayed close behind him, her shroud blending with the dim lights. "Are you sure this is the right direction?" Kalen asked gently. Avarice nodded. The signal was fragmented, but the resonance matches this sector. Vela bodies emit a unique energy pulse, what humans might call a light heartbeat. I can sense traces of it. Summariate. I can sense traces of it. Kalen pointed his scanner at a junction box. The device beeped twice. This part of the station has power irregularities. Could someone be trying to hide by draining the energy grid? That is possible, Avarice replied. They moved deeper into the sector. The air grew cooler, and the sound of humming wires grew louder. Eventually, they reached a small maintenance tunnel that led downward toward the energy conduits. Avarice lifted her head. There. I feel it. Very faint. Kalen crouched and shined a small light inside the tunnel. All right. If someone's hiding in there, we go slow. No sudden movements, okay? Avarice agreed. They crawled through the tight space until it opened into a small chamber filled with tangled wires and dim yellow lights. In the far corner, something flickered like a candle flame, struggling against the wind. Avarice inhaled sharply, a soft sound of shock. It is one of us. Avare. Kalen approached carefully. The small figure was half-collapsed, its lattice dim and unstable. Its panels flickered like dying stars. Kalen realized with a quiet ache it was a child. A young Vela. When the child saw them, its lights pulsed weakly in alarm. Avarice lifted both hands slowly. Stay calm. Little one. I am Avarice of the collective. I will not harm you. The child's panels dimmed further. They are coming, it whispered in a trembling tone. The hunters. Kalen felt a jolt of fear. Hunters? Here? On the station? Avarice turned to him, her glow sharp with urgency. This is bad. Very bad. If hunters have reached Idolon Spire, they are breaking interstellar law. The child shook in the corner. They followed me. Through the cargo lanes. I hid. But Avarice moved closer, her shroud glowing gently. You did well to survive. But you are weak. Your lattice is destabilizing. Kalen scanned the child with his device. Its energy flow is dropping fast. I think parts of its structure are cracked. We need to get it somewhere safe. Suddenly, the lights above them flickered. Avarice stopped talking. Kalen looked up. What was that? Avarice's tone shifted quieter, colder. A resonance pulse. Someone is tracing Vela energy signatures. Meaning? They know we are here, she said. Kalen swallowed hard. We need to move. Now. Avarice lifted the young Vela into her arms. The child's light flickered against her shroud. My people are not strong in physical force, she said. I will need your help navigating the tunnels. You can count on me, Kalen said instantly. They crawled out of the chamber. As they entered the wider maintenance corridor, the overhead lights dimmed again, this time more dramatically. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the hall. Target signatures detected. Converging. Kalen felt his skin go cold. That's automated. Someone hacked the station's maintenance systems. Avarice's shroud rippled anxiously. It is the loom harvesters. They have found us. Kalen clenched his fists. Not if we get out first. He tapped into his scanner and rerouted the maintenance drones in their sector. Several of them beeped and began moving, blocking paths behind them with metal panels. That will slow them down, Kalen said. They hurried through the corridor, the child's dim pulses echoing faintly. Avarice carried the little one with a strange grace, despite her fragile form. Kalen kept checking corners, listening for footsteps or worse. When they rounded a bend, Avarice paused. Her glow sharpened. There are 2 life signatures ahead. Kalen raised his scanner. Human or alien? Avarice shook her head. I cannot tell, but they are moving toward us. Cloud. Claxing line. Cloud. 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 Kalen took a deep breath. Then we take another route. He pulled open an access panel and pointed inside. This leads to the energy nexus. It's complicated, but we can hide in the stabilization vents. They scramble heat signatures. Does one see? Unimporting. Avarice nodded. Lead the way. As they crawled inside, Callan heard distant metallic footsteps. Heavy ones. Getting closer. Avarice whispered. Callan. Thank you. You did not have to help. Yes, I did, he said. You're my roommate. And this child, they deserve safety. A faint warmth flickered inside her shroud. They kept crawling, the danger growing closer with every second. Somewhere behind them, a voice spoke in a cold, metallic whisper. Found you. The metal tunnel vibrated as Callan, Avarice, and the young Vayela moved through the narrow access route toward the station's energy nexus. The space was cramped, barely large enough for him to crawl, but Avarice moved smoothly, her shroud flowing without touching the metal walls. The child's dim light flickered weakly in her arms. Behind them, the echo of footsteps grew sharper. Callan checked his scanner again. They're getting closer. 2. No. 3 signatures. They're spreading out to cut us off. Avarice's glow pulsed uneasily. Loom harvesters work in small squads. They do not leave survivors if they capture a Vela. Callan felt fear clawing at his chest, but he kept moving. We'll survive. We have to. They reached a junction where the tunnel split into 2 paths. One led downward into the main power lines. The other bent sharply toward the station's gravity modulators. Avarice whispered, "Which path is safer?" Callan studied the scanner. The power line path is shorter, but if the harvesters reach the nexus first, we'll be trapped. The other path is longer and unstable, but it might help us loop behind them. Avarice nodded. Guide us. Callan took the longer path. The metal beneath his hands felt warm from the energy flowing through nearby conduits. Sparks flickered between pipes, and occasional bursts of white light flashed through cracks in the wall. The young Vayela whimpered short, painful pulses of weak light. Avarice shifted closer to Callan. Its lattice is failing. We must reach a safe zone soon. We will, Callan whispered. Trust me. For a few minutes, the only sound was the buzzing of energy cables. Then, a metallic thud echoed from behind them. Avarice spun around. They are in the tunnel. Callan's heart slammed in his ribs. Keep moving. They crawled faster. Callan scraped his hands on rough metal, but he didn't stop. The tunnel grew narrower, forcing him to squeeze through sideways. Then a cold digital voice filled the space behind them. Vela signature detected. Human accomplice detected. Capture protocol initiated. Callan swallowed hard. They know about me. Avarice's voice was calm but heavy. Harvesters do not differentiate. Anyone who protects a Vela becomes a target. Suddenly, a blast of energy shot down the tunnel. It lit the corridor with a harsh white flash. Callan shouted, "Down!" He flattened himself against the wall. The blast narrowly missed him and hit a pipe instead, sending hot sparks across the tunnel. The young Vela cried out softly. They're firing inside the station, Callan said, shocked. That's insane. They could breach something important. Avarice replied, They do not care. They want the child. Axon. Another blast streaked past them. Callan's mind raced. We need a distraction. He reached for his tool pouch, thankfully he always carried it, and pulled out a compact emitter. He activated it and tossed it down the tunnel. It sparked and released a burst of blue, static fog. The harvesters paused, confused by the sudden scattering of heat signatures. Avarice looked at him with surprise. Human ingenuity. Yeah, he panted. Let's keep going. They crawled faster, until the tunnel finally opened into a wide chamber filled with humming machines and swirling magnetic coils. They had reached the gravity modulation hub. Kalen stood slowly, stretching his aching arms. The room had a domed ceiling and a bright floor lined with glowing circular plates that shifted gravity around the station. Maintenance displays blinked on the walls. "This place scrambles most scanners," he said. "We can hide here for a minute." Avarice set the child down gently onto one of the plates. The little one's lights flickered weakly, but steadied a little in the changing gravity. Avarice placed a hand over the child's trembling panels. Soft, golden light flowed from her shroud into the child, stabilizing the lattice. Kalen watched quietly. It was beautiful, like watching sunlight heal a crack in glass. Avarice whispered, "Stay with us, little one. Do not fade." Kalen's chest tightened. "Will the child survive?" Avarice nodded slowly. "If we can keep it safe, but we must keep moving soon. The harvesters will adapt." Kalen checked the scanner. Too late. 3 red dots appeared on the screen, closing in fast. He grabbed Avarice's arm, gently but urgently. "We need to get out. They're coming from all directions." Avarice's voice turned sharp. "Then we fight with light." Before Kalen could ask what she meant, 3 tall figures entered through the main doorway. They were humanoid in shape but built like armored machines, smooth white armor, glowing red visors, and heavy gauntlets with energy rifles attached. One of them pointed at the child. "Vela juvenile detected. Retrieve immediately." Avarice stepped in front of the child, her shroud glowing brighter. "You have no authority here," the harvester on the left replied coldly. "Authority is irrelevant. Profit is our purpose." "Assman!" Kalen felt anger rise inside him. "You're breaking station law. You can't just walk in here." And, "Silence, human," the center harvester said. "Interference results in termination." Avarice moved closer to Kalen. "Stay behind me." The harvesters advanced. Avarice whispered, "Kalen, when I move, you must take the child and run." He shook his head instantly. "No way. I'm not leaving you." Avarice's glow dimmed with emotion. "You must. There is no time." But before Kalen could argue, the harvesters raised their weapons. Avarice stepped forward. Her shroud unfolded like a blooming flower, and for the first time since Kalen met her, he saw a glimpse of the radiant lattice beneath. Her panels activated, glowing bright gold. The air behind her shimmered. "What are you doing?" Kalen whispered. "Buying you time," Avarice said softly. The harvesters fired. Avarice raised her arms, and her lattice exploded in a burst of refracted light. The beams bent around her, splitting into dozens of mirrored streams bouncing around the room like a maze of lasers. The harvesters stumbled, their visors scrambling to process the sudden overload of reflections. Kalen grabbed the child and ducked behind a gravity panel. Avarice's voice echoed through the chamber, calm yet powerful. "Vela light does not break easily. Vela. Vela. Vela light does not break easily." The refracted beams circled the room, striking machinery and creating bursts of harmless static light. The harvesters fired blindly, but their shots hit only walls and coils. Kalen crawled toward an exit hatch while carrying the child. But Avarice didn't move. She held her ground at the center of the chamber, radiating light that twisted and warped gravity around her. The room trembled. The harvesters struggled to keep their balance. The central harvester roared, target strength exceeding expectations. Avarice spoke quietly. "You have hunted my kind for too long." She lifted her hands and a dazzling flare of gold shot upward, bright enough to stun the harvesters for several seconds. Kalen felt the floor tremble beneath his knees. "Avarice, you're going to overload the systems." "I know," she answered. "Go." The harvesters staggered, but one regained control faster than the others. It aimed at the child. Kalen moved on instinct. He lunged forward, shielding the fragile lattice with his own body. The harvester fired, but the shot hit a gravity plate instead, bouncing off at a wild angle. Avarice's glow flared with fear. "Callan," he shouted back. "I've got the kid, just move." Avarice summoned another burst of refracted light. This one struck the harvester square in the visor, causing it to spark and collapse. But the floor beneath Callan suddenly shifted sideways. The gravity plates were malfunctioning. Callan lost balance and slid across the floor until he slammed into a railing. Avarice rushed toward him. "Are you injured?" "No," he groaned. "But we need to go. Now." 2 more harvesters entered through a side door. Avarice grabbed Callan's arm with surprising strength. "This way." They sprinted through a service hatch just as the harvesters fired another volley behind them. They didn't stop running until they reached a lower maintenance passage filled with dim lights and pipes. Callan's breath came in ragged gasps. The child flickered weakly in his arms. Avarice leaned against the wall for a moment, the glow beneath her shroud dim. "Callan, I did not expect you to risk yourself like that." He managed a tired smile. "You're my friend. And this kid needs us." Avarice's shroud trembled softly, an expression Callan was starting to recognize as emotion. "Humans are far more than the stories say." 1. Callan glanced behind them. "We're still in trouble. They'll keep chasing us." Avarice nodded. "Yes, but the energy nexus gave us something important." "What?" She pointed at the child's lattice. "The hunters overextended their systems. I sensed their command frequency. We can track them now." Callan's expression hardened. "Then we find them before they find us." Avarice took the child from his arms carefully. Her voice was calm but fierce. "The hunters will not stop, but neither will we." And together, they headed deeper into the station toward the final confrontation waiting ahead. The deeper sections of Idolon Spire were almost silent. Only the distant hum of machines and the soft vibrating pipes filled the air. Callan and Avarice moved through a narrow corridor. The young Vela child cradled safely in Avarice's arms. Every step felt important, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Callan checked his scanner again. A thin line blinked across the screen. "The frequency is steady. The hunters are regrouping near the central energy nexus." Avarice nodded. "They will not stop until they have the child. They may even try to take me." Her voice held no fear, only calm determination. Callan swallowed. "Then, we make sure they don't get anything." They reached a round chamber with a maintenance ladder leading upward. "If we climb this, we'll come out near the security deck. If we can warn the Spire wardens, they'll shut down the hunters." Avarice's glow darkened. "No. The hunters might attack civilians if cornered. They are too dangerous." She looked at him gently. "We must end this ourselves." Callan hesitated. "Just the 2 of us? Against an entire squad?" "Not alone," Avarice said softly. "We have light, and we have human courage." Callan felt a strange warmth in her words. He nodded. "Then what's our plan?" Avarice placed the child gently on the floor, allowing it to rest. The little one's flickering lattice glowed faintly. The hunters need a strong energy source to power their extraction devices. If we deny them power, if we overload the local grid, they will lose their advantage. Callan raised an eyebrow. "Overload the grid? That could black out the whole sector." "Yes," she said, "but it will not harm anyone. The nexus has fail-safes. The blackout will trap the hunters and disrupt their suits." Callan ran a hand through his hair. "All right. It could work. But someone needs to get close enough to trigger a manual override." Avarice's quiet voice answered. "That someone will be me." "No," Callan said immediately. "I'll do it." Avarice tilted her head. "Why you?" "Because I can move while carrying tools. Because you need to protect the kid. And because..." He paused. "Because you already risked yourself to save us." Avarice's glow pulsed with emotion. "Callan?" He gave a small smile. "Let me help." For a moment, Avarice said nothing. Then she nodded. Very well. But you must be careful. The hunters are stronger than you. I know, he said, gripping his scanner tightly. But humans don't back down easily. The energy nexus chamber looked different now. The earlier fight had left scorch marks on the walls, broken cables on the floor, and sparks flashing across damaged control panels. The room smelled of heated metal and burnt circuits. The door slid open silently. Callan stayed low, creeping behind an overturned console, while Averis stayed back in the tunnels with the child. He peeked over the top. 3 harvesters stood in the center of the room. Their armor flickered with static. Averis's earlier light attack had damaged them. They spoke in low metallic tones. Primary target, Vela adult. Secondary, juvenile. Locate and retrieve. Human interference. Neutralize if required. Callan clenched his jaw. They talked about killing him like he was nothing more than a broken tool. He looked toward the energy core. The manual override panel was across the chamber on the far wall. If he could reach it, he could trigger a forced overload. He crouched lower and whispered into the small communicator in his ear. Averis, I'm in position. Averis's voice was soft. Be swift. I feel the hunters searching. Callan breathed deeply. On it. He darted between broken consoles, using shadows for cover. The harvesters' red visors scanned the room, but they were distracted, adjusting their suits and running diagnostics. Callan moved faster. The panel was only 10 meters away now, but then, a loose cable sparked loudly behind him. One harvester turned instantly. Human signature detected. Callan swore under his breath. He sprinted toward the override panel. The harvesters opened fire. Energy shots tore into the consoles, blasting metal into the air. Callan dove behind a support beam just as a beam scorched the wall where his head had been. Callan! Averis's voice cried through the communicator. I'm okay, he shouted back. The harvesters marched closer, their heavy metal footsteps shaking the floor. Callan lunged from his hiding spot toward the panel. He reached it and slammed his hand onto the emergency release. The panel snapped open, revealing a complex array of circuits and wires. Come on, he muttered. I need to cross the power feed to the flux regulator. A blast struck the wall above him, showering him with sparks. Human, stand down, a harvester ordered. You are outmatched. Callan ignored it. Yeah? Well, humans don't always make smart choices. He yanked 2 wires free. The lights flickered. A loud hum filled the chamber. The harvesters reacted instantly. Warning. Grid destabilizing. Callan shouted into the communicator. Averis! Now! Averis's voice came through, calm but fierce. The chamber suddenly filled with golden light. Averis entered through the side doorway, her shroud billowing like a storm of soft energy. The glow beneath her fabric was brighter than Callan had ever seen. Strong, confident, and unbroken. The harvesters turned toward her. Primary target. But Averis's lattice flared, sending a burst of refracted light that bent around every surface in the chamber. The reflections created dozens of illusions, multiple Averises standing in different spots. The harvesters fired wildly, confused and blinded. Callan crossed the last wires. The room shook. All the lights shut off. Complete blackout. The harvesters' armor sputtered. Their red visors dimmed. Their weapons powered down with a fading whine. Averis's soft golden light remained the only illumination. Her voice echoed gently. Your hunt ends here. Callan stepped forward, panting. Security should be here any minute. As if on cue, the overhead emergency hatch opened, and several Spire wardens, the station's armored peacekeepers, descended the ramp with stun rifles ready. Stand down, one warden shouted at the harvesters. The harvesters tried to resist, but without their powered suits, they were quickly disabled and restrained. Callan collapsed to one knee, exhausted. Averis floated toward him, her glow gentle again. You did it, she said softly. He laughed breathlessly. The Spire wardens quickly secured the chamber. One of them approached Callan and Avaris. "We've received reports about illegal hunters. You both saved lives today." Avaris bowed her head. "We only protected the vulnerable," Callan added, "and each other." Later, in the safety of their living module, Callan sat on the sofa while Avaris tended to the young Vaila. The child's lattice was brighter now, steadily recovering. Avaris looked at Callan with warm light. "You risked yourself many times today. You defended a species you barely know." Callan shrugged with a small smile. "Someone had to. And anyway, I care. You're my friend. And the kid needed help." Avaris's shroud shimmered with emotion. "Humans continue to surprise me. My people believed humans were dangerous and unpredictable." "Well," Callan said, "we are unpredictable. But dangerous? Only to the bad guys." Avaris laughed softly, a sound like gentle chimes. "I will report to the Vaila Collective that humans are worthy of trust and alliance." Callan grinned. "That's the best review I've ever gotten." Avaris floated closer. "Thank you, Callan Ward, for your courage, for your kindness, and for seeing me, truly seeing me, without fear." He met her glowing gaze. "You're not something to fear, Avaris. You're something amazing." A gentle pulse of light flickered beneath her shroud, warm and soft. "We will face the future together," she whispered. Callan nodded. "Together." The young Vaila child glowed brighter, echoing the warmth of the moment. And somewhere deep in the enormous structure of Idolon Spire, the lights of the station glimmered softly, as if celebrating the beginning of a new bond between species. A bond born not of power or fear, but of courage, trust, and the simple strength of doing what is right. HFY, humanity, for the win.